Hi, welcome to my series of 5 and 5, where in this session we'll learn 5 Excel shortcuts in 5 minutes or so. Today we're going to concentrate on navigation and selection in Excel, especially for large worksheets. The number one way that people use Excel in selection is click and drag. And that's probably one of the least efficient ways of using Excel, is to click and drag, especially for large worksheets. Click and drag is neither efficient, because it takes you some time to do that for large worksheets, nor effective, because it's easy to make mistakes in clicking and dragging to select your area. So I'm going to show you some neat shortcuts with selecting worksheets and tables and navigating through large worksheets in Excel. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks in 5 minutes or so, with 5 shortcuts at least in using Excel in navigation and selection. So let's get started. We'll start the countdown now with 5 minutes of using Excel and selection. So start the timer. And we are beginning our 5 shortcuts in 5 minutes. First of all, as I said in my introduction, you can click and drag to select areas. Now this is not bad, because I can see the area that I want to select. However, what if I have a worksheet like this where I have a lot of cells to select? This is not an efficient way of selecting a large worksheet. The best way to do this, so our first tip and trick is this. When you clicked inside of your table or your database, if you press the Control key and the A key, that selects your table. Isn't that cool? So you don't have to click and drag to select a table in Excel. So rather than using click and drag, for example, even a small table like this, if I click inside of it, I do Control A, it selects just that table. Now if I'm not clicked inside of a table, I can do Control A, and it selects my entire worksheet. Now up here, bounded by column A and row 1, is our Select All button. Same thing happens here. If I click my Select All button, that selects my entire worksheet. So you can use Control A to select your table or your database in Excel, and you can use the Select All button to select everything. Now let's go through another method of selection, and that is using Shift click and Control click. So if I click down here and I want to select up to the top, I can press Shift and that will select my table. If I keep my Shift button pressed, I can keep clicking, and notice how that is selecting contiguous areas for me. Let me do that with my larger table here. So I'll toggle back and we'll see how I can do Shift click on columns. So if I click on column B here and I want to use this all the way to the zip code, I can select my column, press Shift and click, and there it is. I can use Shift click. Now I can use Control click. If I don't want to see the Social Security number column, I'll select that. I don't want to see the bonus column, I'll select that, nor the home telephone number. So I'm pressing Control and clicking. Now I'm going to right click on one of my column headers and I'll choose Un or Hide. And there. So now those columns are hidden for me to print the worksheets without them, and to use my worksheet without those columns displayed. Now if I want to get just column N, I'm going to select my columns here, click and drag. I can do good old click and drag, right click, and I'm going to choose Unhide. Now if I want to unhide all the columns, especially column A, because column A is kind of tricky since I can't see it, I'm going to use my nifty Select All button here. I'll right click on any one of my columns and I'll choose Unhide. So that would unhide any column it's hidden. You can do that with rows as well. What I'm doing here works great with workbooks and worksheets and columns and rows and cells to select specific information. Now, let's use some of our other keyboard shortcuts. So if I want to select a column in a table, I'm going to click up here in my cell, and I want to select this. Well, I'm not going to click and drag to select this column. I'm going to use Control, Shift, and my down arrow key. Notice how that selects the column of data for me. Not the whole column, just the column of data. Now here's something cool down here in my status bar. Notice how it's giving me all of the calculations for my selection. How about that? I don't have to pull out the calculator nor do my own functions. It's right here. Now I'm going to right click because all of these may not be available for you. So you can right click on your status bar and add all of these functions. So shift click is a cool little trick in selecting your columns. Now if I'm at the bottom here, I'll do shift click and my up arrow key, and that will select my entire column from the bottom up. So that is a cool trick of doing shift click and using it so that you can select specific columns. The same thing works in rows. That if I click here, I do Control Shift and my right arrow, that selects just my row of data. Now I can press Shift. Oops, wait a minute. Time's up. Oh wait, give me a little bit more time. I got a few more tricks. So hey, free extra minutes with some more free shortcuts. So I've got my row A selected here. Now I can press Shift and my page down button, and notice that is selecting large blocks of rows for me. I can keep my shift button pressed, and I can use my other arrow keys, my left and my right arrow keys, to select specific cells, rows, and columns. That tends to be easier than using a mouse or a touch screen, is using your keyboard to select using your shift key and other keys for contiguous areas of your worksheet. Alright, so those are some neat ways of working in worksheets. Now let's work with some workbooks and end our time with selecting workbooks and worksheets. First of all, if I want to toggle through my worksheets here, I don't necessarily want to click, click, click. I can press my Control key, and if I tap my page down key, that will scroll and go through each worksheet to the right here. If I press my Control key and do page up, notice how that is toggling through my worksheets to the left. So you can use your Control key and your page up key to go through your worksheets without having to click them. Now, another little trick down here in your navigations is if you want to go to a specific worksheet, notice it says right click. So I'll right click here, and there's all of my worksheets in my workbook. So if I want to go to my backup personnel, I click that, I click OK. Notice how quick it goes to my worksheets. So that's kind of easier than trying to click, click, click to find the worksheet. Just simply right click down here in your navigation buttons and choose the worksheet that you want to navigate to. So those are our 5 shortcuts, and then some, in 5 minutes or so. So thank you for being part of this webinar. If you would like to have a shortcut sheet of these and others, you can go to my website at gregcreech.biz or gregcreech.com, and I've got plenty of shortcut sheets and cheat sheets. So this will list all of the shortcuts and then more that I've given today. Also, you can purchase my Excel workbooks and manuals through my website at gregcreech.biz. I've got all kinds of full color manuals that I can publish for you. So thank you again, and enjoy excelling at Excel with these navigation and selection shortcuts. Thank you.